Hello guys, welcome back to Archangel RC. Today, after a big pause, is once again a ZOHD day as I take a crack at the Dart XL Enhanced Edition, which should be an upgrade to the old XL, though I was hard pressed to find what had been improved exactly. The differences that I can see from the old version that I had, which was one of the earliest units made, is the way the rear canopy attaches, an improved motor mount section for some rigidity, and carbon rods running along the length of the fuselage to give the nose section more resilience and strength. I'm not certain, but I feel like the rear hatch mounting and motor mount were addressed for the later XL models a while back, so perhaps the only real improvement are the carbon rods in the nose, a 40 amp ESC compared to a 30 amp one for the old model, and the GPS bed with that nice and convenient cover similar to what the Talon GT has. Hopefully there will be no issues with the motor now, as I did have some last time, with a few magnets deciding to come loose during flight, and that's without even pushing it. It's a cruiser after all. As far as I can see, all else looks exactly the same, so please, by all means, correct me if I'm wrong or have missed something. While I was putting the plane together, not that there is much to do, I'm talking about FPV and an autopilot, my options for the latter were pretty limited due to having a ton of planes all equipped with autopilots and ready to go, so I went with the only option available, a Matic F722 Wing, which is only capable of iNav. Yes, now you can be shocked. I am dipping my toes into iNav once again, and my only hope is that I won't come to regret that decision. Now, don't get overexcited just yet. I'm not going iNav on all my birds. I want to test it out, see what the new versions can do, and if things have improved from a few years back when I did have a good deal of issues with it. FPV will be pretty simple to start, no antenna tracker module, an AKK video transmitter, cheap and reliable, at least in my experience, some no-name FPV camera due to having run out of brand ones, and a Runcam 3S for recording HD because I just can't make myself fly without that capability. Power will be supplied by the 4S2P lithium ion pack I built for the Dart XL all that while ago. It is still running strong and should hopefully give me close to 1 hour flight times. Radio control link would be entrusted to a stripped down R9 full-size receiver with the large antennas, the same one I used on the XUAV Clouds for a long while, and that seemed to have unlimited range, so guess I will see how it will perform in this new configuration, with only one antenna being vertical. And no Express LRS yet. Might give it a try, but it won't be on this plane. Also, unlike with the previous model, on the XLE I decided to make good use of the provisions for installing gear on the wings, so video transmitter and radio receiver were allocated there, in the hope for some nice results in terms of video and radio signals being unobstructed. Now, when it comes to iNav, I didn't really watch any tutorials on how to set it up, just went into the configurator and tried to figure it out as I went. Things have changed a lot since the last time I've used it, and some have indeed gotten a bit easier to set up and figure out. My only hope was that I've not missed a setting somewhere which could lead to another crashed plane, but the maiden flight attempt was going to clarify that rather quickly. Once at the field, I did test the motor and prop together for balance, and surprisingly enough, they felt and sounded pretty good, so there was no need to do any balancing. As usual, and following my experience with the Dolphin, I did a rigorous check of the control surfaces and stabilizing directions of the Dart XLE just to make sure there won't be any issues with reversed controls, reversed autopilots, etc. The horizon line on the OSD seemed to work properly and in the correct direction, so that was a reassuring sign. CG was verified a few times, and I did leave it just a touch nose heavy. It is a maiden flight after all. I had not set any auto takeoff stuff, so decided to do this in the angle mode with a bit of an up elevated trim, which I would dial back down right after it takes to the air. Really was hesitant to throw it, as I was worried that it will crash, and also that it might chop up my fingers, as this prop protrudes down quite a lot. But at the end of it all, throttled up through the plane and it took off pretty good without any drama. Since I didn't have an antenna tracker module in the plane yet, I only put a circular polarized omnidirectional antenna on the receiver to match the pagoda on the plane, and to be honest, I got some pretty good results that way, but we'll get back to that a bit later on. Right from the start, I was impressed how well the plane flew and that it didn't crash immediately, which for some weird reason I do expect from iNav. Granted, it was late in the day, dawn time, and the atmospheric conditions were pretty calm. Perfect for a nice, smooth flight, or at least it looked so from the ground. A mysterious lack of an SD card in my DJI Osmo action camera prevented me from filming that point of view. So, I flew the plane around for a while and it just didn't crash, which was reassuring. iNav seemed to be doing a decent enough job of keeping it stable, even though it really didn't have a lot of work to do in such conditions, but years later, and that horizon drift issue was still present, quite obvious and seriously annoying. I would do a turn, let go of the sticks, and the plane would just stay banked for a good while, so I'd have to yank it the other way, then it stays banked the other way. Most annoying thing I've ever seen. Even though claims are that version 3.0 will fix this, I'm shocked to see this is still an issue. And by the way, since I did set up this a few months ago, I'm currently running iNav version 2.6.0. I do remember claims of this being addressed much earlier, but oh well, guess we'll wait and see. Good news is that the horizon drift issue does not seem to affect the stability of the plane or its ability to stay airborne, so at some point I headed out as I was curious to see how this Omni antenna video setup is going to fare. I think the AKK video transmitter is set up to its maximum setting, which should be around 1.2 watts, and I was able to get over 3 kilometers out and could have gone more, but I did notice some hesitation in the RSSI indicator, so decided to turn back since I hadn't tested neither failsafe nor return to home on a switch. On the way back I did, and even though I was pretty high, the plane kept gaining altitude, which was weird. That was with testing return to home on a switch. I later tested failsafe by switching off the radio and it does go into return to home, but again keeps gaining altitude, and I didn't really want to wait for it to stop because of that issue with the RSSI. Good news is, at least it's going up and not crashing to the ground, so I guess it can be considered good results, and even though I didn't remember it at the time, since a few months had passed since I had this plane set up, I had set return to home to gain 200 meters before actually heading home, so that behavior is as it should be. The idea was for it to go over any possible obstacles that might be in the way to getting home. Important thing is that it works. The plane came back in one piece and I landed it safely. I am glad the F722 Wing held up well. A while back somebody told me that the board didn't work well and had some issues with iNav, but I am glad it worked well at least this time around, and I hope there will be no nasty surprises in the future. Since, during the first flight, I was a bit preoccupied with whether iNav is going to kill the plane or not, I didn't really find the time to do a proper stall test. Plus, at that location there was an obscene number of mosquitoes present at dawn, which made the whole experience quite unpleasant, and I was in a hurry to land and get out of there. So, a second day of flights was dedicated to testing that. Sadly, no DVR recording of that second day because I didn't plug the DVR in the monitor, but at least I got some tests done and I had my friend fly the plane for a bit while I filmed it with my DSLR camera. So, stall testing. First attempt was in angle mode, and not surprisingly it didn't result in anything worth talking about. Plane just sort of parachuted down at a slight forward speed, and actually it did take a while for it to start losing altitude because it did go through some thermals which actually kept it at altitude for a bit, then it started dropping, but no stalls really, nothing worrying, just a lot of what you see right here. Second test was in manual mode, and the plane does need a bit of trim because it does roll to the left a bit, hence why this part of the test looks like this, with only a full up elevator, but then I tried to correct for that roll, and even in manual mode the plane just doesn't exhibit any bad tendencies, wing dips or anything else that would suggest it will go into a death spiral. That being said, keep in mind my CG is slightly forward currently and I have the vortex generators glued on as well, so perhaps that also helps. For comparison, if you remember my first video on the lame duck, even though it has the same forward swept wings, it actually does go into a tip store quite easily. In any case, I was pretty impressed by this behavior on the Dart XLE, and this definitely boosts my confidence in the plane. Now, I can't be certain if what the OSD was showing for current draw is correct, though it did seem to be, but once I get to doing some proper endurance tests, I will know for sure. Planes seem to be able to cruise around at a pretty low current of 4 to 5 amps, which would definitely give me 1 hour flight times in such conditions. That also means that the plane would do okay for some shorter range cloud chasing, but I would have to add the antenna tracker board for that to become a lot easier as far as the video goes. So basically the plane is pretty similar in terms of performance to the previous model. I only hope I never get to test the effect those carbon rods have on the nose. May also try to improve the motor mount in a way of pushing the motor a bit further out and optimizing the tail section to improve airflow, which hopefully will make it a bit quicker and would improve efficiency a bit more, but all in that in good time. Now, before I conclude, I'd like to say a few words about this video's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online skill sharing platform offering a wide variety of online courses on a host of topics. For instance, there are a number of courses on how to design your very own PCB boards, which is a useful skill in today's world. Or perhaps a course or two on how to design for 3D printing and how to 3D print whatever your heart desires, which always comes in handy, and its applicability goes far beyond the RC hobby. Also, you may want to take up knitting to calm your nerves down from wrestling with iNav settings all day long, for instance. Another class that I'm finding particularly useful is this Fundamentals of DSLR Photography one by Justin Bridges. I use my DSLR camera a good deal in my work and as a hobby, so learning new things and finding out how to properly master it would definitely be useful. Basically, if you are looking to gain a new skill or a few, Skillshare is the place to do it. No ads, no nonsense, just learning in a great community. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link will get a free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. So have at it. That about wraps up this video. If you have found it useful, please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment or in any other way engage with the video, as it helps it get seen more and helps my channel grow. Using any of the affiliate links in the description below to purchase anything from those websites will help support this channel and my family at no additional cost to you. Another way you can support me is Patreon. The link is also there, and I would like to express my eternal gratitude to all the people who have supported me so far in any way and would continue to do so. I wish you all successful flying, and I will see you in the next video.